Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Slick James Johnson, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Paul, Flat on Earth, Chris, Chocolate Saying, and Darwin. Very good to have you all.
G'day.
Hey. Hello, what ho?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So,
Let's do a bit of housekeeping before we do anything else. So, any signs of Earth curvature, jangly noises?
nope. Absolutely none.
No signs of Earth curvature, jangly noises. No.
Yeah, jangly noises are not part of housekeeping.
Jingling. Do you want to hear it again?
Oh, it's you bugger. What about any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. No.
Great not, Nate.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Anybody thinks that gravity is a thing is just utterly stupid.
No, it's very functional, but it's just not real. That's
The answer is
problem.
no, Arwin.
We need
It's
to
amazing how things that aren't real can be so functional, though.
Yeah, they're
So,
called reification fallacies.
No, but I'm talking about functionality, about just applying them. But
What's functional about?
it's not.
What's
well,
functional
ask-
about something that doesn't exist, like a shadow?
Shadows do exist.
Well, the thing it works out with designing and all that. That's the funny thing about it, that an aberration, something that's not actually real, not scientifically provable, can have such wide appliances, can be applied so widely and used, and it is. And everything works out. It's just pretty amazing, I
What
think.
a beautiful story. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, well, hang on a minute. Just thinking about gravity. How come gravity can pull up the oceans, right? If you're thinking about it this way, the moon has a gravitational effect on the oceans, apparently, and can cause them to bulge around the basin, creating the tides. Yet, our gravitational pull can hold molecules at the very edge of our atmosphere and protect it from being sucked off into space by the moon.
Exploded into space is a better phrase.
Yeah,
Exploded into space.
expanding in all directions to fill the space available to it.
Directly to the weak point.
Not
Yeah,
only that, the moon's 1/6 gravity is somehow able to overcome the Earth's gravity and manipulate the oceans. That's pretty cute.
Selective gravity.
Well, it's actually kind of funny when you think about it. As the moon supposedly moves around the sphere Earth, there should be in between a point on the Earth specifically where it is exactly in between the moon and the Earth, and that is the point where supposed tides should be, not all spread out throughout the day over half the world. Tides, no, specifically in between. And that's not how the tides work, as measured. just thinking out.
Well, why isn't the atmosphere sucked off? As you
Blown
know,
off.
Oh, there's
Exploding off.
atmosphere in between the moon. Remember?
why doesn't the moon suck off the Earth's atmosphere?
Because space is not a vacuum. The vacuum of the sky is a complete lie. It's rhetoric from the assertion that the Earth is a sphere in, obviously, a never-ending vacuum. Well, the gas, it wouldn't get sucked off, as you phrase it. It would it would get
You know, Randy's got the mentality of a 5-year-old. At the
yeah,
minute.
you're terrible, and I'm terrible too for laughing. So it doesn't get sucked off. It expands in all directions to fill the available space. So the available space being a never-ending vacuum, well, that's quite a lot of available space for the gas to expand into. The fact that it doesn't proves there is no vacuum of the sky. Outer space is fake.
I don't get it. Sucked off. Why is that funny?
Well, it's very simple. It's gonna breed new troll music videos. I'm sure of it.
Anyway, what about the distance to the sun? Any evidence of that being sucked off?
No.
There is no measurable distance to the sun because it's not a thing.
I'm distracted. What was the question?
The distance to the
We're
sun.
talking about
Any
sucking
evidence?
each other off.
No. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I don't think that the apparent sun disk we see is a physical object.
Oh boy.
There's already no distance to the sun.
That was the intro to Quantum Leap. Does no one remember that? Clearly not.
That was
No,
my
I
show.
love that.
I love Quantum Leap. I used to
Right.
love that show.
Anyway, so no distance to the sun. Excellent. Moving on.
Nope.
Any evidence of, I think we've covered this already, but gas pressure being maintained without a container for all the fundies who believe in the sky vacuum, outer space?
No. But what I find
No.
funny about that is that we can demonstrate that you need gas pressure. You need a container for gas pressure. And they dismiss that, but they can't demonstrate that there's some magical force that pulls it down. They can't demonstrate that you can have two gas pressures next to each other without a membrane. It's like,
Yeah, that's the thing about a fundamentalist belief. So no demonstration of the violation of a second law, the second law of thermodynamics, a natural law. No? Entropy still rules. Gas would fill space. Space being fake. Yeah, moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
0.
No.
Maybe a chocolate iron core. No, not chocolate iron. No.
So shouldn't
Nope.
the Earth's just going back to a question? Shouldn't the Earth's atmosphere, if we believed in the Bohr model,
If you say sucked off now, I'm kicking you out.
shouldn't it be pear-shaped on one side, where the moon's gravitational force is causing? I can't say it. So
The atmosphere, you mean?
it's pulling the atmosphere towards it, because it would have to have an opposite gravitational force.
Ranty,
Yeah, but
it's
it
pressure
does.
from the inside.
What?
Look, in the model they presented about how the gas pressure also engulfed the moon. It does.
So that's why they've included the moon in the
Yeah.
makes
course.
sense.
Oh,
Finally.
I see. You're talking about the rearranging of the Tor values between us and the moon, right?
Well, yeah, if you've got the moon pulling gravitationally from one side of the Earth, the atmosphere, and
Yeah,
on the
but-
other side of the Earth, you've got the vacuum of space with no resistance, shouldn't the atmosphere be far more susceptible to being pulled off when it's near the moon, or at least increasing the height as the moon goes around it? Just as the moon would pull the tides, why wouldn't it pull the atmosphere?
Yeah, there's
Right,
about
so-
10 presuppositions in that question, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I know.
But
I
in
like
the
to play games with these globeheads.
in the model
I
they
see- I
showed the
see what
moon
you mean,
does
though,
have
Ranty.
pressure, but it's lower pressure. So there's more pressure on the Earth, and it's in the higher pressure zones. It's slightly warped around the moon, or the lower pressure zones, high up. That's
It's
how they
kind of
showed
funny,
it.
right? They've never mentioned about how the moon would affect the atmosphere. They only talk about the water. So what's going on with all the air in between the moon and the water?
Exactly. That's the point. That's my point. Exactly.
Yep.
And shouldn't it, if that's the case, then it would have an effect on passenger planes, airplanes, because
It should
you know,
it should affect everything.
well, yeah, because the layers would be different. There would be higher as the moon travels. It would be changing the atmosphere and the depths of the atmosphere as it goes around the Earth, and planes would have to bypass those areas because there would be instability in those locations.
Yep. I hear what you mean.
So just to nip those presuppositions in the bud then, because a lot of those presuppositions revolved around the R value.
R.
Very, very upsetting for my daughter is the presupposition of an R value. Any evidence of it?
You wait till she starts science class.
Yeah, can you imagine conspiracy cats being a teacher in science?
Just imagine the first science teacher. She's going to have a field day.
Can't have gas pressure in our container, sir. Who's told you that?
But in
Nathan
seriousness,
Oakley has.
in
Who the
seriousness,
bloody hell's Nathan Oakley?
in seriousness,
My
a lot of
dad.
the examples that Ranty just gave were about orbits, and most of it revolved around, no pun intended, the presupposition of a spherical R value. So is there actually any evidence that would make Ranty's questions make sense, i.e. proof that we're on a spinning sphere with a radius value?
Well, there's no evidence of it, but if you beg the question, then you're also posing extra questions for them to answer, which is, this is what would happen if the moon was exerting its gravitational force on the atmosphere.
Wrong. Bad dog. So, when you beg the question for them, everybody in the audience is under the impression that we are in that scenario. So, it's not necessarily your fault, but it is if you know that by begging the question for them, you're entering into the world of Narnia, aren't you?
But this is flat Earth debate. So it is debate, and we have to sort of acknowledge their argument, which is that it's their argument. So
I agree.
If that's their argument, let's pull it apart and say,
sure,
well,
I have to strike a balance
It's not
between...
the world of Narnia, it's the world of Arnia.
Yeah, but it is the world of Arnia. You're not wrong, but that's my point. If you start talking about... I'll use a different example so it's not personal against you. Hey, Physics Warrior.
Hey, Nathan and panel.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up, Si?
So as a different example, if you say, well, when we open the door to Narnia, right, then you're making it clear that you're begging the question that Narnia is real. Whereas if you just start the example by saying, well, in Narnia, the rockets can travel in the vacuum of Narnia because they work thusly, and then you start detailing why they won't work. You know, the pressure won't work in the vacuum of Narnia. Well, you're already in Narnia when you're talking about it. So the audience is in Narnia, you're in Narnia, the person you're talking to is in Narnia, and Narnia's automatically considered to be real. It's just whether or not rockets work there. Well, no, let's make it clear from the outset. We're opening the door to a place that isn't real, walking through and then detailing whether or not rockets will work there.
Well, I would be interested if anyone, in my question, I genuinely would be interested for the Glober's response to that question.
Okay, let me ask you this, Ranty.
Nathan isn't.
No, that's fair enough. Let me ask you a question then. Right. You know the lamp in Narnia? The lamppost they see when they first get there?
Yeah.
Well, given that the composition of air in Narnia is only 3% oxygen, how is it possible that that gas lamp actually works? How is that possible?
That's a different wick, mate.
Different wick? No, the gas, there's not enough oxygen in the air, so how is it possible
Oh,
to be lit?
it's electric. It's an electric lamp.
No, it's a gas lamp.
They've got a little canister within the stem of the lamppost that's got a little bit of oxygen in it.
Do we all see the ludicrous nature of this conversation? We're now detailing the gas composition in Narnia and whether or not a lamp in Narnia works because of the gas composition in Narnia. Well, Narnia's not bloody real, is it? Same as outer space. The sky is not a vacuum. The gas would fill the space. To detail anything beyond that, and I'm striking a balance here, Ranty. I need you to put this argument forward so I can tell you off, right? Otherwise, there's nothing happening.
This is all linked. This is all linked with the gas pressure next to a container. this is intrinsically linked to that, is that the moon's gravitational force will be far stronger than the Earth's gravitational force when the moon passes next to the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah,
Far
like the
greater.
wardrobe. The wardrobe, you don't underestimate the power of that wardrobe, Branty. The wardrobe can change the chemical composition of the air in Narnia, and it doesn't affect the composition here, even if you open the door. It's all down to the power of the wardrobe. Don't you know about the wardrobe? What's wrong with you?
But the big question is Narnia, the realm of Narnia, in a container?
Doesn't need to be. The power of W, moron. Wardrobe. Hello. It's the answer to all problems in Narnia.
Oh, don't forget, time works differently in Narnia too, so it's a whole different ball game when you put time involved.
Yeah,
Well,
the speed of light's totally different in Narnia. Didn't you know that?
There will be heavy wind
Time
flow.
is totally different there. Completely different in terms of its dilation. Yeah? The way that time is dilated, everything's contracted in Narnia. That's why the gas pressure works. God, are you guys idiots? Clearly, you don't read the priest's words about Narnia very closely.
Maybe
It's a bit
space-time
like-
bends in Narnia.
It's a bit like on a TV sitcom that was called The Bill. If ever you have a conversation with a cop, they always say things like, it doesn't happen like that in real life. They never catch the criminal and that happens. It's always like, the cop always likes telling you how it doesn't happen like that in real life. It's just like that in heliocentrism. In real life, you can't have a gas pressure next to a vacuum. It's just like watching an episode of The Bill.
Shout out to Jeranism. He credited me as being the invention of the field equations that made narholes work. So he
Yeah, I
invented...
saw that. That was great.
Big shout out to you, Jaren. Thank you very much for the shout out. Really appreciate it. But essentially, he's saying, well, in Narnia, you've got narholes. And then he comes up with the composition for narholes and just uses the exact rhetoric of black holes. And I kind of said this also. In other words, the photo doesn't fuss me. It's just a picture. It's when the assertion of the mathematical reification of a black hole is attributed to that picture that I suddenly have a problem. You know, suddenly it's in the vacuum of space and all the other heliocentric bollocks that's asserted. Well, no, that's a mathematical construction reified by a claimed photo from the vacuum of the sky. Well, all of those claims that go along with it are the thing I have an issue with, not the picture itself, you know. And the same as everyone would have an issue if I started claiming that picture had come from Narnia. Somewhere that's not real. Shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much indeed.
And if I may, real quick, just throw this in there because it's been bothering me for a few minutes. Saying that the sun is not a thing, I really wish you wouldn't do that because that has not been verified. It is very misleading.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say? Because that's not been my experience then. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, the sun's definitely a thing.
Yeah, but how physical is
A
it?
thing, a physical object.
How physical is it?
Intangible.
It's
No.
definitely intangible, but how physical is it, Slick?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I heard a statement that the sun is not a thing. Now, that's what I heard. I'm only responding to that statement.
I think you might have misheard. What we
Yeah, me
say
too.
is this.
No, I didn't mishear. I know what I heard. Arwen
Oh,
said it.
really? Are you so sure? Because last
Yes,
time
I'm very
You know who
sure.
said
being
that?
asked about certain things you didn't remember at all. So maybe
Right.
you're just
But I'm
mistaken.
sure. But I'm
Did
sure about
anybody on
this. I
panel
heard it.
say that?
Arwen said it.
That's
Oh,
not the
Arwen
same we
said it.
use for the sun, Slick.
Listen, Arwen said the sun is not a thing. Now, I know what I heard. I'm just responding to that statement only. Now,
Well,
if
I'm
I'm
going to say
mistaken,
Arwen
hold
doesn't
on,
say
I'm
Well, I
almost
already
finished.
corrected
I'm
that
almost,
statement, presuming
never mind.
that it was what I said.
Just let
I
Slick finish
withdraw
his
the-
statement. God, just let him get to the end of
I
his
withdraw
statement.
the statement.
Oh, God, okay. Fine. The sun's definitely a thing. I see it quite often.
How
Shout out to Issa Mihalski's song "Totally Tangible."
Yeah.
Well,
Shout out to
seriously,
Nick
if it's
Slick
physical,
versus
then
Arwen.
tangibility has to be a factor to it. Just basic logic. So, look, the sun is definitely an apparent thing. It's just not physical. It's apparent. It's a visual.
Yeah, there's no evidence that shows that the sun is tangible, that it's physical. It's definitely not tangible, we can't touch it, but there's no evidence to support that it is physical. Yeah, they think it's a gas. Well, they're
Listen.
arguing over what it is.
Well, gas
It's
is
just-
physical too, isn't it? It's matter.
Well, yeah, but
Oh,
they're
hold on.
arguing over what its constitution is.
No.
Is
You're
it
arguing
is it
over
a
the
fluid or
phraseology.
is it
No, gas is
Hold
matter.
on, Owen,
proven.
there's a distinct difference between Anthony's phraseology and your phraseology. Anthony saying there is no evidence to support that it is physical. To assert that it is not physical is a very different assertion. That's Slick's point.
Not saying that is supposed scientific proof or anything.
But do you see the distinction between saying there's no evidence to support it being physical? That I can back 100%. Yes, Anthony's absolutely correct in that assertion. But he's not saying it isn't physical in that assertion.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
just being politically incorrect then.
You go, girl.
It's just the power of semantics. And do you know what? I need to give a shout out to Gem Panda. Gem Panda will criticize me immediately if it starts coming down to the definitions of words. And I saw a video on that he was commented under the other day, and somebody posted me the link because he's got me blocked or something weird's happened. But basically, he's attacking the use of the word clear by the guy making the video, saying that that's not clear at all. Definition of clear means easily, or whatever the definition is. And he basically argues the application of the word clear in the context of this guy's video. And it was just great to see the guy respond, because he messaged me and said, what should I say to Jeremy here? I said, just tell him that semantics only works one way, doesn't it? Obviously, it only works against flat earthers, because it's all right for ball earthers to be semantic with the meaning of the word clear. But if we try applying the word meaning of the word, say, like negligible, for when light refracts negligibly, how it deviates from straight, not curve, doesn't follow a curved path. They don't like it when we're semantic, but it's all right for them to be semantic.
Anyone seen Wide Awake's image of Polaris?
But did we cover this on the pre-show? Is that yes, we did. Yeah,
We
bring it up
did,
again.
but we've got some more guests that might want to
Sure,
talk about
we're
it.
live now as well, so definitely worth covering again. So while you're doing that, have you got it presented already?
I have, yeah. Yeah, this was on Taboo Conspiracy 2's channel. And essentially he's just going over this image yet again. Obviously, we have the image of Polaris, somewhat center of screen, but not quite. What's interesting is when the enhancements are actually done. So if I put my cursor, the point of it is actually still on Polaris. But look at the rest of it.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, what is it?
It's
Exactly.
like a field.
That's what I thought.
But
Well,
what's
I just did
Polaris?
a little bit of a. I'm sorry, I did just a little bit of research while we're in transition, and I shared my screen. I don't know if you can see this. This is color miniature, or whatever you call it, how you pronounce that. But this is talking about Photoshop and camera, and it looks like this might be something of the way the camera does operate. I'm not sure. I've been digging deeper, but this is kind of just a cursory looking at it.
Can you make that bigger?
It's talking
Paul?
about raw images.
See the graphic they've got. Can you make it bigger? Where it says Photoshop a camera.
Hang on, let me see. Bear with me just a second. Did that help?
Yes.
Can you see it now? Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
That works just about.
Like when there's, yeah, they're saying this left side is Photoshop and the right side is just the camera itself.
All
I
right.
can see similarities.
So I don't know. It just makes me think that it could be just an artifact of the camera, the way the camera's processing the image. But I'll drop this into the link, into the side chat so you guys take a look.
Any chance someone can drop Taboo Conspiracy 2's video link in the public chat and I'll just approve it?
Okay, I'll do that now.
Thanks, Ranty.
My first gut would say I would love for that to be something in the sky, but yeah, it could be just an artifact of the camera.
Okay, so Ranty's just put the link in and I've just approved it, so go check out Taboo Conspiracy 2, second channel, which is where that video resides. So go subscribe to him today. Can you spam it again, Ranty?
Yeah.
So it doesn't get lost. moment. We all gone quiet in anticipation for Ranty posting a link.
I've done it. I've posted it.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't appear. I can't see it. Oh well. I approved it when it first went by, anyway. Well, that killed the mood.
Did it?
Certainly seems to have, yeah. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, what else do you want to talk about, Nath?
You want to talk about that professor?
Oh, yeah, could do, I suppose. Let me get his quote with me.
You want to credit who put you in touch with this professor?
Yes, it was. Who was it now?
Ruhif.
It was Ruhif. Yes, that's right. Let me present my screen 1 sec.
Right, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, then. So, this is a response by this professor who studies all kinds of tides, barotropic tides specifically. Now, I'd made reference to barotropic tides could create a hump at the shelf as much as 10 meters. Ruhif got in touch with this professor who, we have his name here, Michael C. Gregg, and this was his response. So where he pours water on my claim of 10 meters, he does actually still admit that the internal tides, displacements of the sea surface, do happen, and they are a few centimeters. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because the Globers won't admit this, because this is still a bulge that happens without the supposed curvature of the Earth. And what's more is that if we are looking across a flat plane, we are still looking across not a level surface, because we will be looking across areas that are artificially risen in height due to the push of the tides. Now, this is just his quote, bearing in mind, this is just from one professor. So I'm sure there's a few other professors that I can get in touch with, or maybe discuss it with him more in depth about the, not necessarily just the barotropic tides, but a whole host of other things that could cause vertical surface displacement. But this is interesting stuff, because this is more obstruction. Even though it says it's a few centimeters, what's a few centimeters? 10 centimeters? 5? You know, but if you've got that kind of bulge that's happening just because of the tides, that's something to consider.
Yeah, it's back to angular size. So if that bulge is very close to you, 5 centimeters is meaningless, because it could be an absolutely massive angular size. What happens if you're right on the deck next to the water? Well, then it's going to be absolutely enormous in angular size. So the 5 centimeter value is the removal of the perspective aspect of it, i.e. its angular size. Well, something that, let's say 5 centimeters, just so we work in Muppet Vision language for the globe heads, the 5 centimeters is potentially the same size or bigger than something that's got smaller with distance. That would be the angular size relationship. Shout out to McDonnie for you for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Brit, £1. Is it? No, euro. My bad. Thank you very much indeed. So yeah, this is an angular size cause of things being obscured in the distance. Again, it's never going to be taken into account in the Earth curve calculator, because that only has one cause to assert. Earth curve.
Yeah, definitely. And if we just put a slight bulge in, just out of curiosity, I'm just putting a very slight bulge just in there, and then I'm going to obviously drop my line of sight down to 1. I'm going to do it in a different color, because now we're going to go into the 0.02, the amount that we can't see anymore. So I've just put that little 5 centimeter in, and straight away that little bulge has already created a greater arc over here. Now, this is just looking to the top of it. And then we've got to add the 0.02 of a degree, where you've got the diffraction limit. Then you've got to add some diffraction, where obviously these pixels are still intermingling with one another and still not being able to capture a proper image. So we're going to put another angle in there, so to speak. And suddenly what you seem to realize is that even if you was looking across a flat plane, you know, and you had a boat in the distance, at some point, it is going to get obscured from bottom up due to these small few centimeters and waves and bulges that are caused by the different types of tides and the topography of the land underneath, the Rayleigh criterion, and obviously the limits to what you can actually see, the angles that you're playing with. So it's a compression of different things that can cause bottom-up obstruction.
Right, the way it's been hijacked is if you now on the right-hand side draw a building, so at the very far extremity. Yep.
Now I'm just going to put a building in there. I'm going to do it in brown. I'm just going to put a building in here. Like so.
What's all that noise? Oh, it's my printer. My kid's been fiddling with the printer. Sorry, I thought that was someone's mic and it's actually here.
So by virtue of being forced to look over this few centimeters of bulge caused by the tide, by virtue of being forced to look over that, your eye line has to look over that and above that. Then you have to include perspective. Then you include perspective because you're not looking through the water because there's a bulge in the way, not caused by the curvature of the earth, but caused by barotropic tides and the vertical displacement of internal tides. So this is just one aspect of the tides that I was looking into. So you've got a series of different things that you need to then start applying. You apply the bulge for this area where it's being forced up. Then you've got to apply the Rayleigh criterion. You've got 0.02 of a degrees where you wouldn't be able to actually see it. Then you've got to apply whatever it is. I've forgotten now. Nathan, help me out.
Well, I was going to make a slightly different point, actually, which is to say that based on where your building is on the right-hand side, that building, even if it was right in front of the observer and had a really wide angle to it, that would still be given the same feet and inches value. This is how they remove perspective. What you see in the side elevation curve calculator are all these different lines going out. One is eye line, one is horizon line, one is the field of view line, one is the distance line. There are all these different lines, but really all that's relevant is the angle to the target. That's what tells you how big it will appear in the picture. And the further away it goes, the smaller the angle. The closer it comes, the bigger the angle. But the value, feet and inches, will never change. That's what they use in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to remove that aspect. Because if you're going to assert that when it gets to this distance, or, more importantly, this limited of an angle, that it's being obscured by something, Earth curve in the near foreground, they say? Well, no. The effect of the Earth curve would also be calculable and measurable based on its angular size if it was a true obstruction in the near foreground. But to calculate that, in reality, would require you figure out how big the bulge is in angular size compared to the angular size of the target it's obscuring. But they ignore all of that. They just say, this is how big the target is, in feet and inches or meters, and it will not change, even if it's 1,000 miles away. Now, obviously, the further right this building goes, the smaller and smaller and smaller this angle becomes, until eventually it's so small it can't be seen anymore. But that's not accounted for in the calculator. You've got one line drawn between you and the target, and the only thing that ever intersects that line is the curve of the Earth, the only cause that can be asserted, ignoring all angular relationships. Also, as Ranty's just detailing, you can have actual obstruction, the rising of the water, again calculable by angular size versus the target and its angular size. So if this in the near foreground is how big did he say the waves were? A few inches? Well, you push this target far enough away and a few inches can obscure the entire thing by virtue of perspective. But that won't be accounted for if this building's always described as being 100 feet tall. Because it's 100 feet here, it's 100 feet here, it's 100 feet here, it's 100 feet when it's 1,000,000 miles away. Well, When it's a million miles away, they say, why has it gone? Earth's got in the way. No, angle's too small. Or something in the near foreground has physically obstructed it, based on the perspective and angular size relationships. Shout out to McDonnie for you for another super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
But this is the most important part of this. It's Ruhif got in touch with me, and he was kind of gloating in saying that obviously I'd miscalculated when it said 10 meters. I'd read it wrong.
Ruhif wasn't gloating. Don't be silly.
Well, he was. He was as much admitting it in his email, including this particular email from this professor. So he was gloating, but in gloating and getting a professor to actually acknowledge that the tides do cause artificial bulging, he literally took a great giant dump on the globe, because essentially this is blockage caused by the tides and not the curvature of the Earth. So getting them to admit it slowly, bit by bit, keep prodding them, keep at this, and you will get these professors to make assertions like this.
Yeah, and other causes, and I said this to Ranty and Anthony yesterday while we were on a phone call, which is to say Tim Osmond started to say, what's it going to be caused by today? Is it the circle of confusion? Is it the angle of attack? Is it perspective? Is it the Rayleigh criterion? And it suddenly dawned on me, well, at the time, the way I phrased it in my mind was, they just want one thing to contrast with Earth curve. And then it hit me. They've only got one cause. Obviously, there's other things that can make things disappear. Things that can physically obstruct the view of the bottom of something that's got smaller into the distance. There's also the very fact of perspective causing things to disappear eventually with distance. None of these causes, and there's lots of them, are ever used as the cause when the globe Earth puts their argument forward. It's only ever one cause. And as we all well know, life isn't that simple. It's not just Earth curve that causes things to get small and disappear or be obscured. There's multiple causes, and this is one of them. Professor saying, there's something that can physically obstruct your view of something in the distance. Well, given that the calculator doesn't account for the fact that that small thing could be big in angular size compared to what you're looking at behind it, then it's just yet another cause that's not accounted for in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijack and curve calculator. The Earth doesn't have a curve. There's plenty of reasons that are ignored that can account for things disappearing in the distance. The most important one, completely ignored, is perspective.
Yeah, there's another good reason why things are ignored for things blocking things in the distance. That's probably the biggest problem. The rumpus. He ignores everything that blocks our vision. He just calls everything curve.
That's all they can ever assert. There's only one cause. It's only ever Earth curve. Why is this gone? Yeah. Well, it's too small to see. But it's at the top of a mountain. That's why it's too small to see, not Earth curve. But if you put it into the Earth curve calculator, well, it's still visible, according to them. Even though it's way beyond the diffraction limit and too small to see, they can't assert any other cause other than Earth curve. Either you can see it or it's gone to Earth curve. But that's the actual size of the building going to Earth curve, I might add. Well, the actual size of the building that will not change with distance ignores the fact that it can get too small to see. Perspective.
Well, how about that anyway, Nathan? A professor who's studied specifically barotropic tides, admitting that those tidal forces do actually cause a bulge on the shelf, admittedly, in his opinion, just a few centimeters. But isn't that just rather interesting that with a little bit of delving into that, we've finally got some headway?
Yeah, perfect. As soon as you find an example that's attributable to it, it would have been formally described as being obscured by Earth curve, would it not? The only cause they can assert. It's like, well, here's this other explanation. No, only Earth curve. The only cause we can assert on the globe side of this argument.
Because every time they accept anything that's not Earth curve, it dilutes their own argument for the Earth curve calculator.
So yeah, f-stop and actual physical obstruction caused by the water being raised up. Yeah, there's all sorts of causes. Not Earth curve.
Temperature, humidity, opacity of the atmosphere, gas pressure in molar form.
As opposed to terrestrial refraction, an arbitrary 7/6 of the begging the question radius value, attributed to the mathematical reification of said radius value in the form of the heliocentric version of the Earth curve we do not see, cannot observe, and is simply the effects of perspective hijacked and called Earth curve.
Garbage. Utter garbage. Believed, though.
I hate it when you make the body of the Earth like a pear shape, curve, kind of bulging.
On a different note, Man United played Man City tonight, and if Man United beat Man City, Liverpool win the league. Woo!
That's great.
I know it's slightly off.
Very good to hear. I'm really pleased to hear it.
And what happens if they don't win?
It goes down to the final game of the season. There's only, I think there's only like 2 or 3 games left now, and basically Everton battered Man United at the weekend 4-0. But because of that, United now won't get into the top 4 unless they're at Superman. But they've got to be Superman tonight against Man City. But if they do become Superman and they do get a result against Man City tonight, Man City then don't win the league. So Liverpool practically win it. There's a couple of games left, but it means that there's a gap opened up. And nobody wants Man United to lose tonight because it's interesting to see how the football's turning out. So just keep your eyes on the scores for tonight because I'll be a happy bunny if Man United actually win today. First time I've ever said that.
What, that you're a happy bunny?
If Man United win, yeah. I've never once cheered on Man United, and I have to tonight because we need them to beat Man City. All good.
All good. So how do you feel about the globers that have ultimately always asserted that any obstruction is Earth curve obstruction, and then finding out that a lot of these people who are the protagonists for the globe argument know about these other causes and just haven't mentioned them to them? Wouldn't you feel slightly, what's the word, pissed off?
Cheated?
Lied to? Wouldn't you feel that
I think
way?
it's what they're essentially waiting for, if they know it, is for you to specifically say the correct words of the exact phenomena you're looking at. So before, when we were talking about dirty air, if we'd have said diffraction and the diffraction limit, etc. like that, the aperture size, we might have got through to them a lot quicker. They knew what it was, essentially. They knew what we were seeing it, they could see it. They weren't stupid, but they were acting stupid. So unless you actually say the exact term of what it is, because they probably know, they're never going to admit it. And they only admit it when you get the correct term. So
but even then, they won't admit it, they'll just dismiss it.
Or make it seem like it's not relevant. So it's just the f-stop, you moron. Really? Where's the f-stop in the curve calculator? There's only one cause, Earth curve. So this other cause you've just admitted you know about makes it pretty obvious to the audience, Rumpus, that you've been deceiving your globe head brethren, not telling them about these other causes that we're definitely talking about. So is it us lying to the globe side, or you, Rumpus, with these other causes that you can concede and then handwave dismiss by saying, oh, big items, they're not calculable in the Rayleigh criterion. Yeah, we know, we're talking about stuff that's small and disappears, aren't we? That you assert is caused by Earth curve, not f-stop. These people are just pissing in your face, globeheads, and we're laughing at you too now. Rumpus is laughing at you, Mick West is laughing at you, Wiggles is definitely laughing at you. These people...
Yeah, but to be honest, Wiggles laughs at jokes that aren't even funny, so I'm not sure that's a good benchmark to compare.
Shout out to Timmy Osmosis.
Shout out Retracted. Or is that a troll account? I thought you were on about Tim Osmond then.
I'm just messing with him.
Start messing with these people. Oh, it's only ever Earth curve, is it? Oh, right. Perspective deniers. We've already called you that. F-stop deniers. Just ignore these facts of life that are very real and very calculable, and the reason things disappear from bottom up, as conceded by globeheads, who just ignore these things by using ridiculous logic like big things aren't applicable when we're talking about small things and their angle.
I just want to repeat one of Rumpus's favourite phrases. You can't censor reality, Rumpus.
Yeah, Rumpus. The reality is you're lying to all of your globehead friends, and while they're telling us that Earth curve's the reason this stuff's disappeared over a flat surface, it could only be a curved floor, you've admitted that it's f-stop, something that can also cause stuff to disappear from bottom up. Yeah? Never included that in any of the maths you did on this show, Rumpus.
So when he says, I've been 100% right in everything that I've ever done, turns out not to be true, that doesn't it, Rumpus?
Yeah, just a liar. You knew about it, but just didn't tell the globeheads. We were trying to. We didn't know the phraseology. Yeah, we're obviously a lot earlier on in this journey, but we knew something was wrong, and you know all about it, don't you, Rumpus? You just never told anybody while you were doing the geometric-only calculations that didn't account for the f-stop, the aperture being used, the equipment. No, that wasn't accounted for, because your calculator doesn't perform viewing functionality now, does it? Even though it's being compared to things that have the effects of f-stop, making stuff disappear from the bottom. You just ignore that, don't you? Because big stuff isn't calculable. What a crap excuse for pissing in these globeheads' faces. Well, I salute you, Rumpus, because I quite enjoy it now. I enjoy watching you piss in these people's faces. These idiots that believe what you say. Or what you don't say. Yeah, keep it up, Rumpus. Keep pissing in their faces. I love it.
It's otherwise known as lying by omission.
How do you feel, globeheads, watching this right now? I'd be fuming. Me, I'm just going to laugh at you. Yeah, he just didn't tell you. He made you all think it was only ever Earth curve that could cause stuff to disappear, even though he knew otherwise. What a wanker, pissing right in your faces, globeheads. Yeah, the Rumpus, yeah, he knows all about it. You don't, and we didn't, and while we were trying to get there, he was fighting his tooth and nail, until Red Pill Philosophy, shout out to Red Pill Philosophy, gets him to admit, oh yeah, there is a different cause that can make this light disappear over this flat surface. F-stop. We won't include it, because big stuff doesn't matter when it comes to f-stop, even though we're talking about very small stuff in the distance, which we'll say is Earth curve obstruction. Yeah, just a cheat, just a liar. We all knew. That's what we're here for. Right, guys? We were trying to tell you. You just told us it was a curved floor, right?
And you know what's the best thing about it? Now we can call, even though we know what it's called, we can now call it dirty air again, just to take the piss out of them, because we know that it's not curve of the Earth. I love it. Dickheads.
Yeah, we're trying to help you, globeheads. We're on your side. We don't want to see you lied to. That's all we've been saying all along. Shout out to Candleman Smith for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Fellow Brit, £2. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've been trying to help you out, man. We're not trying to deceive you. We're trying to look at this stuff and explain it. Never mentioned until absolutely forced to be conceded by Red Pill Philosophy. And there we have it. The other cause of stuff disappearing from the bottom up, completely ignored. Feels like a good day to be a flat earther. What do you think?
It's like having a cigar of success. A cigar of success.
I was actually thinking, have you guys seen, I know I brought this up the other day and I got laughed at, but you remember My Cousin Vinny? Remember that movie? Have you guys seen that?
Is it Joe Pesci?
No.
Yeah, Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei. He's a brand new lawyer that's just came to get his law degree, and he's getting his first case, and he's trying to figure out all the law and all the stuff and all the procedural stuff, and he fumbles and messes up and gets thrown in jail. By the end of the movie, he wins the case because he demolishes everything the other attorney who's had all this experience has thrown up as his evidence. It'd be good back and go watch it. I think that's how kind of what Flat Earth is going through.
I guess, Nathan, does it mean that all the people that are not the main protagonists, all the people that are genuine Joe Blogs, do they now become our friends even though they're ballers because they're victims of Rumpus's dishonesty?
That's up to them, isn't it? I would prefer that they just stayed victims, because that's amusing for me. Maybe a few people would like to ask me what diffraction is.
What's diffraction, Nathan?
That would be the limit that we can see things, the diffraction limit. This thing that's calculable based on the f-stop or the aperture value. Something that Rumpus understands implicitly is a reason that things can disappear from the bottom up. The diffraction limit. Isn't that interesting?
Can I present something, eh?
Pushkan, I had you up a second ago, actually. I just...
Right, okay, so I managed to get in touch with that professor directly, and one of his citations that he sent me to was this here, so I'm just going to crop to selection on here. I'm going to crop to the selection here, and here's what I want to just look into. So if we are an observer at point B, right? And we're going to be trying to look at, obviously, a boat here, let's say. Let's get something so that we can see a direct line of sight. Let's do it in bright red. And so here we are. This is the tide. This is apparently the tide movements. What have we got there? What's this? What's this area here?
A bulge.
That's a bulge. And the further away you go, so hang on, let's get rid of that and do it again. Boat goes further away. You're looking through more of a bulge. Now, is that Earth curvature or is that tide movement?
That's tide movement, a physical obstruction that in perspective terms could be physically larger than something that's reduced in size into the distance.
Exactly. And the same on the other side as well. And you guys can look into this. You can research the same, and you'll see that these tide forces create a artificial bulge that will obstruct things that you're trying to look at in the distance. From this professor.
Not Earth curve. Not the only assertion made by the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Another cause. So there isn't a single cause of things disappearing in the distance. There's many, many causes. Shout out to Tim Osman for highlighting the fact that, what is it this day? Well, there's many causes. Just because you've got one zealot assumption doesn't mean that we need to have one singular cause for things disappearing in the distance, because there's more than one. The fact that you only have one automatically proves that it's false, because there are definitely other things that can cause things to disappear from bottom up. For example, f-stop. Right, Rumpus?
What I'd be interested now is to see what Rory's position would be on this, because Rory really, he has to admit that he might have got this bit wrong, but will he actually admit it? Because we all know that there are other things that cause obstruction, right? But will Rory admit it now? And I don't think he will. I think that he's going to be one of those ballers that will refuse to admit fault no matter how bad it is.
Well, has he been around? Has anybody gotten any money from him? Because he owes people money, as far as I know.
Let's hear a little bit from Red Pill and Rumpus.
At the same height, over the same floor, visible in one, but not the other. Now, hang on. Rumpus, this is big. He's going to lift the camera higher now, and it's going to come into, it's going to be visible again. Watch. Camera then lifted off the paper. Watch. And now there is the pinprick of light. There it is. What changed? The only thing that changed was that he lifted it higher up, changing the angles involved, which is exactly what the flat earthers have been saying now about this whole phenomena. Two cameras, different aperture sizes, different lens sizes at the exact same height. It disappears out of one, but not the other, and then reappears in the other one once he makes it higher, changing the angles involved.
But the floor is not perfectly flat.
No. More importantly, well, when you're on an airplane, what is the sunset?
Okay, you're deflecting to some other nonsense. We're talking about the floor examples and the hallway examples with the light at the end. This is what we're talking about.
Well, given this is a flat earth, we know they're going to be incompetent. I mean, this is what Riley gets things every single time or ranting.
Silly ad hom.
No, it's not, because it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. You can things like Riley, when he goes to things like measure slopes and things, he always does something stupid. Same with Ranty. Same with every flat earther I've ever met.
You're appealing to some unknown mistake that he might have made.
Yeah, but it always happens. And so I can't rely on any of the experimental method here. But anyway,
we need some Globers to go out and reperform it, because you guys always appeal to the floor is uneven. The floor is
but hold on. This does not.
I never said that. Hold on, Red Pill.
A flat earther.
Stop talking for a second. Look, I never said that before. What I said is, if you increase your elevation, you're saying you can bring the sun's light back into view. So why is it that we go higher, as high as we can? It doesn't matter how high we go at one point of the Earth, we will never bring the sun
to account, obviously, the body of his iPhone 6s.
No, that's irrelevant. I'm saying, is the measurement the same from the floor to the center of the lens?
Yeah.
All right. Continue.
Okay. So he had just placed it at the same height of the other camera, and go ahead now he's zooming in, and you just cannot see the light.
It's a lower resolution and a lower f-stop number, you utter moron.
That's the point. And go ahead now he's zooming in, and you just cannot see the light.
It's a lower resolution and a lower f-stop number, you utter moron.
That's the point.
His reaction was glorious, wasn't it?
Rest in peace.
It's an agreement hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. It's the great switcheroo when they decide to agree with you on something and make it and claim a victory based on them agreeing with you on something that was contentious originally.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Like he should have known that.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that spot where Rumpus stumbled over his words, kind of like Mick West when he had to admit. It was just glorious.
Shout out to Candleman Smith again for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, he claims that I've lost. I have no idea why he claims I've lost. I was quite explicit in proving that the Kirkouts didn't include perspective, but
who's claiming that you've lost?
Rory is essentially saying that I have not fulfilled the task.
So he's denying it at all costs?
He's denying it at all costs.
That's fine. Keep denying it, Rory. We all know that you're mentally retarded for believing that perspective is included in a geometric calculator. I heard on the grapevine he was on Countdown. You'd think he'd understand what words meant. Geometric, you retard. Not including perspective. Does it not take... So far there's been about 5 people from your own side. Let's list them. Wiggles, Kosho, Rumpus, Bob the Fallacy Guy, Mitt West. These people have actually devised their own calculators. Has Rory devised his own calculator to appreciate that it doesn't include perspective, like all of these competent globe heads who are pissing in the faces of all their compadres when they say that you don't need perspective, you don't need the Rayleigh criterion, you don't need to account for the fact that things get smaller into the distance, i.e. perspective? Rory's just a stupid idiot. Keep denying it, Rory, because it gives me the opportunity to point out just how dumb you are.
Yeah, because let's look through the words here, because like it was just said there that he was on Countdown. We have perspective. So we have perspective, just perspective, the noun, the way that objects appear smaller when they're further away. Very simple, very obvious. Then you've got in perspective and out of perspective. Now he's talking about in perspective. Now he did the video in relation from one object next to another object. So in comparing their size and relative positions to each other. So that would be in perspective, not perspective. Perspective is the way that objects appear smaller when they're further away. Rory's wrong. We're correct.
Somebody look up on, if he was really on Countdown, look up what his Countdown conundrum word was, because if it turns out to be perspective, I'm going to say this is a setup.
And with that, I will say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who have tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, all of that good stuff. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching our Nathan Oakley after show to follow.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!